cracks are widening in the Western alliance over Ukraine, with Washington and London veering in opposite directions. As the Trump administration signals an unprecedented shift, demanding Ukraine repay US aid and hinting at sanctions relief for Russia, the UK is doubling down on economic warfare, rallying G7 nations to turn up the heat on Moscow. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, speaking at the Support Ukraine Summit in Kyiv on February 24, announced the UK's most aggressive sanctions package since the start of the war. The sweeping measures target Russia's shadow fleet of oil tankers and military supply chains stretching from China and beyond. Starmer's move wasn't isolated. Australia and New Zealand piled on fresh sanctions, intensifying Western pressure on Moscow. At the summit, Starmer urged Europe to take greater risks, calling for a tighter oil price cap and the crippling of Russian energy exports.
We must keep dialing up the economic pressure to get Putin to a point where he is ready not just to talk, but to make concessions. So today we're announcing the UK's largest packet of sanctions since the early days of the war, going after Russia's shadow fleet and going after companies in China and elsewhere who are sending military components. Later today, I will be discussing further steps with the G7, and I'm clear that the G7 should be ready to take on more risk, including the oil price cap, sanctioning Russia's oil giants, and going after the banks that are enabling the evasion of sanctions.
Yet even as Europe intensifies its backing for Kyiv, Washington's commitment is now in doubt. President Trump has launched a blistering attack on Zelensky, branding him a dictator without elections and accusing him of prolonging the war. The Trump administration is now pressuring Kyiv to pay back US aid in natural resources, making it clear that America's blank checks are over.
He refuses to have elections, is low in the real Ukrainian polls. I mean, how can you be high with every city is being demolished? It's hard to be high. Somebody said, oh no, his polls are good, give me a break. Every city is being demolished. They look like a demolition site. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast because that war is going in the wrong direction. In the meantime, we're successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia.
Trump's demand for repayment in rare earth minerals and oil has sent shockwaves through Kyiv. But Zelensky is pushing back hard, rejecting any notion that Ukraine should be saddled with war debt for generations.
I'm trying to get the money back that, or secured, because, you know, Europe has given $100 billion. The United States has given $350 billion because we had a stupid, incompetent president and administration. 350. But here's worse. Europe gave it in the form of a loan. They get their money back. We gave it in the form of nothing, so I want them to give us something for all of the money that we put up, and I'm going to try and get the war settled, and I'm going to try and get all that death ended. So we're asking for rare earth and oil, anything we can get, but we feel so stupid. Here's Europe, and you know, it affects Europe. It doesn't really affect us.
As Trump hints at sanctions relief for Russia as a bargaining chip, European leaders are scrambling to counter a possible US policy reversal. The mere possibility of a Washington-Moscow back-channel deal, excluding Europe, has sent alarm bells ringing in London and Paris.
I'm not going to acknowledge 500. No matter what anyone says or how we communicate, again, with all due respect to our partners, But I'm standing firm because this reflects the true situation. We are absolutely right. And the second point, honestly, I'm not even ready to record the 100 billion. I'll explain why we must not recognize grants as debts, whether someone likes it or not.
In a high-stakes bid to keep the US engaged, Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron are rushing to Washington this week. Downing Street confirmed that both leaders spoke on Sunday to coordinate their strategy, warning that Western unity is at stake. Speaking in Glasgow, Starmer framed the war as a defining moment for Europe's future. He linked Ukraine's struggle directly to Europe's economic pain, warning that without a stable resolution, soaring costs and security risks will only escalate. The UK has pledged $4.5 billion, $5.7 billion, in military aid for Ukraine in 2025, the biggest single-year commitment since the war began. But in a stunning revelation, The Telegraph reports that Starmer is considering deploying 30,000 European peacekeepers to Ukraine, with US firepower as a deterrent against future Russian aggression.
The UK is ready and willing to support this with troops on the ground, with other Europeans and with the right conditions in place. And ultimately, a US backstop will be vital to deter Russia from launching another invasion in just a few years' time. So we will do everything we can to get the best outcome for Ukraine and for us all.
With transatlantic tensions peaking, the coming days could decide Ukraine's fate. While Europe doubles down, Washington appears to be calculating an exit strategy, leaving Kyiv caught between competing Western power plays. If Trump's vision prevails, Ukraine may have to fight not just Russia, but also for its place in the Western alliance itself.